Rick Stojak on the drums.
Yeah.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome and welcome back to the Drummers Education Connection. My name is Jeremy Steinkohler. I'm here with my good friends Chip Ritter and Rick Stojak. Our fourth compatriot, Bart Robley, is not with us today. He's on tour with his band, the Sam Morrison Band. We wish him the best at the beginning of his extensive month-long tour. Hope he's doing well on the road. And we're happy to be here. We're happy to be here every week talking about drums and drumming and stuff related to music and teaching and learning, and hopefully giving you guys some inspiration and some resources and some guidance with you to help you along your journey playing drums. And we like to get started with a little segment we call Good Things, which is just a chance for us to check in each week about what's going on with us. Could be anything. Could be some musical stuff. Could be some pet related stuff, some life related stuff, whatever you want. So, Rick, what's going on that's good for you?
Julia and I went out to see the new Led Zeppelin documentary last night, Becoming Led Zeppelin.
Oh, I haven't even heard about that.
Oh, it's in IMAX. It is fantastic, man.
Cool.
It's all the development of Led Zeppelin, all the way through to them becoming big rock stars. And there's so much incredible live footage and interviews, very rare interviews of John Bonham in there. And, Bonham didn't do a lot of interviews, so it gets you a chance to really, hear him, and it's super touching. And just watching Bonham play, oh, it's just amazing because there's not a lot of great video of Bonham playing, but this is the best I've ever seen.
Very cool.
And he was just remarkable. I was just loving watching his technique, his big open sound. I was noticing his bass drum beater not sticking to the head at all, man. He's coming off the head, getting that big boom sound. And I was like, thank you, because that's how I play and endorse playing. And he had this incredible German grip on his right hand, and he was just so loose. And then he had a French grip on his left hand, like he was swatting, but he still had French grip, and so that was interesting to watch. And
that was interesting.
Yeah, so there's incredible live footage. It's in IMAX. I don't know how long it's going to be out, but I highly recommend going to check it out. And boy, talk about finding inspiration and love and drums, which fits into our
cool.
Our topic today.
That's excellent,
guys.
Definitely
What's happening?
How about you, Chip?
Oh man, my good thing is this Thursday I'm going to have a drum lesson with Jeremy Steinkohler, and I'm stoked about it. I can't wait. I got a couple questions. I'm loaded up, like I'm loaded for bear. I'm ready for the lesson, and I'm just excited about picking his brain and getting some of that stank on me. How about you, Jeremy?
Oh man, that's I appreciate that. That's your good thing, and I'm super excited. Looking forward to that too. Chip's got a gig playing a bunch of New Orleans music, and that's kind of my wheelhouse. So we're gonna have some good conversations, and hopefully I'll be of value to help him out a little bit. For me, I had two things. One is I had a rehearsal. I had a gig this past weekend that were great. The gig was with this singer Kay Kostopoulos, terrific jazz singer, and a sax player named George Brooks, who's played with Zakir Hussain and some other really heavyweight musicians. And he's really into Indian jazz kind of confluence of styles. And that was really, really cool. We played a couple of his original tunes, and that was very, very gratifying. And then I had a rehearsal with a Latin band, which is the first time sort of full on Latin show in March I'm playing. That's the first time I'll have ever done like a full on just a Latin show. So that's kind of cool. It was a little bit stretching for me, and I had to play with three percussionists, so I had to adjust my parts so not double various pieces of the groove. So that was really good. I felt like I was absorbing a lot and learning a lot.
Nice.
And then my other big thing is Deck Day is coming up. So it's only just about 2 months away.
2 months away.
For those of you who don't know, Deck Day is our once a year now annual event where we have a live event. We do clinics from the four of us, and we also have some other cool add-ons. This time we're going to do it back at the Aquarian Drumheads Warehouse in Orange, California, just south of LA. And Mike Brucker, who's the director of sales and marketing there, he's going to do a head presentation talking about all the different kinds of drum heads that Aquarian makes and the differences between them and how to pick drum heads for the sound you want. And we're going to have tons of free stuff we're going to give away from our sponsors. We've already gotten some great stuff, products from ProLogix pads and snare weight dampeners, and Hudson Music. And I know there's Vic Firth. There's like maybe 20 different companies that are going to be donating stuff for us to give away to those who attend. So Chip's going to put he already put the link in the chat. You can check out the information there and sign up. It's $125 to sign up for deck day. But boy, do you get so much out of it. I mean, you walk away with a bag full of stuff that's worth like $100 right off the bat. Then you get into a raffle for all these other free things we're giving away, cases from Protection Racket and Humes and Berg, and maybe a Sabian symbol. So, I mean, it's a fun hang. More than
and you get
it's
4 clinics.
4 clinics. That's the main thing.
Clinics.
Yeah, I mean, what an awesome day. We appreciate all the support from our sponsors. They're such a big part of making this happen, but we need you guys to be a part of it too. So check it out.
And you get a tour of the Aquarian factory.
Really that was cool. Yeah, I learned a lot last time doing that.
Yes.
Like how the heads are made and the differences between them and all the different gradations of thickness and different materials used, and why Aquarian heads are so good with their channel lock systems. They don't detune.
Yeah.
It's an awesome day. It's going to be like a full day, 12 to 5. We'll have snacks, free snacks even.
Oh my God.
Snacks.
Wow. That's worth the price of admission right there.
You had me a snack.
I get to watch your 2 clinics and Bart's clinic and get to continue to learn.
Yeah, right. That's so fun to watch you guys do and hear what you have to offer. And I always walk away from it feeling like I learned so much from you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
That's so great about the deck community. And we're all open-minded to learn. And look at you, Chip. You're going to study New Orleans with Jeremy. Jeremy, you're scoping it out. You're working on this New Orleans thing. I'm trying to figure out how John Bonham did it. All stretching.
So this is a nice little segue, a perfect time to switch into what we're going to talk about today, which is really just a conversation about what you love about playing drums. And this is one where we really, really invite our audience members to chime in with what it is for them that drew them to the instrument, and what they like about it, what they enjoy about it. And really, it can be anything. There's so many different great ways in which drumming can be an enriching experience. So we'd love to hear from you guys about this.
Yeah, don't be shy. Blow up the comments. We're ready.
Right. So Chip, let's start with you, man. Like what first thing that comes to your mind when I say, what do you love about playing the drums?
I love the drums. What I love about playing the drums is I feel like it completes me. I feel like when I'm playing the drums, I feel like I'm doing what I was supposed to be doing. I just have that sense of being. And I don't know, it's kind of like when people talk about what they feel and they go through when they're surfing. I go to a different place. I'm not worried about my bills. I'm not worried about stressing in life. I'm just in the moment and in the zone, and I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And it feels great. It feels like I'm completed as a human when I'm playing drums. That's what I love about drums the most.
Man, I love that answer. Love it.
That is beautiful.
How about you, Rick?
Well, I have a feeling that all of the comments that we make, we're all going to resonate with to some degree. And it's just beautiful to kind of add them all up. And I totally am with you there, Chip. For me, I like spreading the good joy, the vibe of it all. Like seeing someone in an audience, like in this zone, to me just really, really energizes me when they're getting into the band and they're getting into the drums, and I can feel that they're relaxed. That just moves me so much. And as a drummer, we're so part of that. We're the ones who are keeping the tempo. We're setting up that vibe, right? We're establishing that groove. So yes, it's all on the whole band. The whole band is making it making that groove happen, but it's so prominent in the drums, when you go to a concert and you watch, I've seen Rush live a million times, and when Neil Peart goes into that drum solo, and you see all these people air drumming that solo, and it's magic. It's connection, and I think that's what it is. is it's at our core as humans, this primal connection of 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 rhythm. It's something that we can share, right? They say music is the universal language. So to be part of that in any capacity is really, really great. And you don't have to be some major pro drummer to experience that. That's the good thing. You can learn one beat and play to one song and lock it in and just have a jam with friends and people are grooving on it. And that's a really incredible experience that I think everyone should try. So everybody should be a drummer. That's what I think.
I agree. Sometimes I think everybody should be a drummer. The way I look at the world, like I look at people who aren't drummers and just wonder what they do. Like what kind of life is that? Like you're missing out, you know?
Yeah.
Guys, I asked my friends on Facebook what they love about drumming in one sentence, and some of the top ones were pretty cool. One of them said releasing what needs to go. The other one said grooving with the whole band. I got a lot of being in the pocket is what they love about drumming. And like Rick said, creating a connection with other people, making others sound even better and making things move, sound, people, emotions, and air. And I just, that state of flow was mentioned a few times too. So I love that. Maybe we can, I can ask you guys a question. What do you think creates that state of flow? What's it take to get into that state of flow? You know what I'm talking about? Like
There's got to be, yeah, absolutely. I think there's got to be a sincerity. There has to be a focus that you're not, you're very in the moment. You're very, very present. You're not affected by the stuff going on in the world. It's that nuance and connection. It's relaxed. It's kind of like when you're exercising or taking a walk on the beach or whatever that thing that recharges you. That's what I think you're talking about there.
Yeah.
I was curious. I don't want to lose this one. Is the person said something about releasing what has to go? Was that what the line is? That's kind of cool.
Releasing what needs to go.
Yeah, kind of like in a therapeutic. Maybe they've got stress bundled up inside of them, and they're saying this is a real stress reliever.
Yeah, catharsis.
It is.
Yeah. Sure. What about you?
Well, let's see. First, let me answer Chip's question about flow. I mean, Mickey Hart talks about this concept of what he calls entrainment. And this is the idea that things kind of locking in together to be in a groove together. So like if you set, clocks apart, ticking at different times, eventually they'll kind of like clock together, metronomes, that is. That to me is the flow, where like and what's involved in finding the flow is when you're playing with other people is listening and a certain kind of humility where you're sort of serving this thing that you're doing together, as opposed to just I'm going to do whatever I want regardless of whatever else I'm hearing.
Yeah.
And then there's a quality of being relaxed, like basketball players talk about being in the flow when they're not thinking about the game and they're just in the zone. Where your conscious brain isn't busy getting in the way of your just playing what you feel and feeling what you play. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You're just doing it. You're not thinking about what's happening. You're just in the moment. And to me, that's when sort of the best music comes out of me, is when I'm not thinking about any of that other stuff.
Jeremy, I'm going to give you a plug. Finding the Groove, Jeremy's incredible book. I know you talk a lot about this stuff, and this is mandatory reading
as
far as I'm concerned for all of my students. So we start understanding, what it is that we love about this instrument, and you do touch on that in some of your chapters.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of like every other. you really hit on that all over the place in this book.
Yeah. Well, it affects so many aspects of my life and our lives, right? And Fred made a comment a moment ago. He said, "I love the personal connection to the instrument, but I love the connections I've made through drums that have enriched my life." I mean, that's a really nice broad way to think about it. That it's really just about relationship building. And when you're in the moment, you're sort of creating and building whatever, nurturing this relationship with your bass player or with the band. But then, of course, there's all these other great relationships that happen, on a friendship level, that wouldn't have happened but for the music and for the drums, I should say.
Yeah, man.
Right? We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here doing this, having a podcast and doing Deck Day and making all these great connections and meeting all these awesome people and going to PASIC and NAM and making great connections with great people, but for this common passion that we have. So,
yes. And
can I jump one other thing that I wanted to say earlier about just for another thing that I think about just on a personal level for me that I enjoy so much about playing drums, in addition to all the things you guys said, I agree with 100%. For me, I love that drums is like a never ending, drumming is a never ending, treasure hunt, like, then the deeper you dig, the richer the treasure you get. Like the better you get and the more you learn, the more subtle your understanding becomes, and your more refined your ability becomes, and you can make the music sound deeper and better and richer. And it's just the better you get, the more enjoyable it is, right? I see this with my students all the time. Like in the beginning, it's okay, it's kind of fun. Then they play with a song, it's even more fun. Then 3 years in, they're having a lot more fun because they're deeper inside the music than when they started.
Yeah.
And for me, there's this quality of drumming that's like, I think of it like an art/science, where like there's so much analytical, and this is just how my brain works and the way I sort of go through the world. Like I'm very analytical, and I think all about all these aspects of drummings that are very technical, and all these exercises and worksheets I put together that are technical, and working on vocabulary building and independence and coordination. And then there comes a point when no matter all the stuff you work on and the technical things you examine, and you sit there with a magnifying glass with your finger technique or whatever, it's music in the end. And like no one's caring about all that stuff, and they're just caring about how the music feels and how it makes them feel.
Right.
And that's kind of when I'm sort of in the zone. That's where I'm at, is like it's an art form, right? And so there's like the science part or the analytical part that you can get super deep into and nerd out about and enjoy, if that's what you're into. And then you can get to the part where it's just expressive, and of course, to express, you need some kind of technical facility, but like, the expressive part for me is where the magic happens. Like when I'm playing gigs, I'm not thinking about my, right hand technique. I'm just thinking about being in the moment and making that musical moment happen, and the more of those moments that happen where they're intentional and we're all sort of firing together, the better the show, the richer the experience for the audience. And yeah, so for me, it's that sort of yin yang balance of technical and artistic.
Yes.
That's awesome. There's a thing that says studies out of Karolinska Institute in Stockholm have shown that there's a link between the brain structure used to keep time and those to problem solve. Individuals who were better at tapping out a steady rhythm with a drumstick also performed better on problem-solving tests.
Yeah, I referenced that study in my book, actually. That was a really good one. That it just showed all these other benefits, mental benefits of playing drums. I had a student for years who was a linguist, and he asserted that playing drums made you smarter. That's what his belief was.
I believe that.
That scientists say you tap into like 3% of our brains. Like we're only using a small percentage of what our brain capacity. And his contention was that the more you drum, the more you build those neural connections. You're able to do all kinds of things that would benefit from those connections that aren't just about drumming.
Yes, and there's been so many studies about being a musician, how it enhances in children their grades, especially in English and mathematics, according to some studies that I read. Um, the whole community thing is I'm with you there, Fred, our buddy Fred Fisher on his great podcast. Check out Drummer G. Fred does a weekly Tuesday morning podcast that's up on Facebook and YouTube. And we've developed a great friendship through music, and all of us, we all met at the NAMM show. We're all Aquarian artists, and that's how we all met. And the types of people that you can meet through music, it's just so interesting. You meet you can meet a lot of artistic types, a lot of very, very interesting people. So a music friendship network is really, really a unique thing. I can't even tell you how many different wild and crazy characters I've met over the years through music. And it's other drummers, it's other musicians. There's people involved like promoters and managers. There's the person at the music store that you can connect with. This stuff goes on and on and on. Almost my whole social network is musicians.
Yeah.
And then when you diversify, just like anything in your life, the more diverse you are, the more enriched your life will be. So, for a while I was playing in a reggae band that played steel drums. And then at the same time, I'm playing in a psychobilly band, these kind of punk rockabilly guys. Talk about different ends of the spectrum. I remember there were times I did gigs in the day with Island Fever, doing the calypso reggae thing, and then I'm out like in a club playing the psychobilly thing at night. And it's just so much variety, and there's that variety is the spice of life. And boy, music can bring that out for sure. And
I feel like you guys said earlier, like we should all be drummers, right?
Yeah.
Everybody should be a drummer. I kind of feel like we are all drummers. Like, what is the most fundamental thing that happens as soon as even before you're born? You use a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And that's what sustains you. And then you're done when your heart stops beating.
Right.
Right. So what's that?
The song is over then.
Exactly. The fat lady is sung.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, call me whatever. Maybe this is a little too sort of mystical for you or whatever, but like,
get mystical.
There's something about that heartbeat that connects us all, man.
Yeah.
That we're all moving in time, and here's the other crazy thing is it swings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Go, go, right? We're going through life as a shuffle all day long.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's something.
Another fun thing about all of this is all the gear and all the instruments. So,
I knew you were going to bring that up at some point.
I had this heartbeat. Is that working? I'm not here.
Rick, we got to get those paddles to jumpstart Rick's heart.
Yeah.
Get the paddles. Get the paddles.
Yeah, I don't know if it was working. Are you guys hearing that? Maybe not.
Nope. Not.
But I have a sound effect over here that's a heartbeat. So
I feel like
anyway.
playing drums taps into this thing that is centuries old, from like the beginning of whatever humanoids, right?
Primal, yeah.
Primal, right? Where they discovered that you could knock things together and make a sound and play things in rhythm. And I think that was an extension of the heartbeat, which is at our core, which keeps us moving in rhythm. And so this was like the outward expression of rhythm by knocking things together, right? Yes. Hitting a log with a stick, knocking two rocks together.
Yeah. Forms of communication too. Drums were used to communicate in many ways.
Right.
That is right. Bart gets into that a lot in his book, The Rhythmic Journey. So we're missing you today, Bart. He's out on the road, a working drummer.
His heart beats on 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Which is kind of backwards. I thought the heartbeat should be down on 1. No, I don't know.
No.
It depends what band you're playing in. Right. If you're in a funk band, your heart's beating on 1. If you're in a rock and roll band, your heart's beating on 2 and 4.
There
There
you
it is.
go. There you go. He's rock and roll for sure. We love you, Bart. We miss you.
There's this great Far Side cartoon. You guys remember Gary Larson, the Far Side
Mhm.
cartoonist?
Oh
And,
yeah.
there's these two cavemen, and one of them's knocking two rocks together and says bonk, bonk, bonk. And then the other one next to him is wearing these dark sunglasses, like these Ray-Bans, and he's going be bonk, be bonk. And then the caption is the birth of jazz.
Ah. Oh, those are just the best.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, going back to that learning it and how we evolve and the better you get, the more fun it is that you were
Mm,
talking about, Jeremy. You know, that's one of the great things about this is that it's a challenge
mm,
that it's not just so easy. I mean, so often we see a drummer play and people who really don't really understand what's going on, they just see the tip of the iceberg and they just say, "Oh, you're a natural."
mm.
But yeah, there are naturals who they just pick it up and they are really, really good at it. But usually the work that it took to get there is just so intense, but it's so rewarding, right? You have to work so hard. And so having a goal, this can really help a person out with their own discipline and start getting in a goal set mentality. So you're not just sitting on the couch watching TV. So you've got something to challenge you, to help you grow as a person. And so um
A
this
sense
is
of
why
purpose. Yeah.
it's a purpose. So this is where a good teacher does come in on any skill, not just drums. I'm just going to say get a teacher no matter what you're doing. And we have a real world of instant gratification and people just want to be good at stuff without doing the work. And I think that I get that, being in the flow, being natural and all of that. But if you find a good mentor, man, you're going to be that much better no matter what you do, whether it's baseball or engineering or psychology or drums or whatever instrument. So
Yeah. How can you know what you don't know unless you have
yeah,
someone who's there to show it to you and help you learn, right?
yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and what are we doing? Here we are, three professionals. We're all in our 50s and 60s. Are you 60, Rick? I'm not going
uh,
to say. You don't have to.
I,
You don't have to answer
I
that.
threw a lot of candles on the last birthday cake.
um, and a lot of our peers and guys that come on the show are sort of, roughly our age. 40s and 50s, whatever, 60s. And every one of them tells the same story. Remember, nobody is born knowing how to play the drums.
Yeah.
With the exception of Buddy Rich, maybe, but like y'all, everybody starts as a beginner. Everybody starts from scratch,
Yep.
and people may have a good ear and a natural affinity, and things just make sense to them, and that's all great. And maybe you're one of those savant people like Gene Hoglan, where they just hear things and they know how to do it. That's amazing. But for most of us, you got to learn, and and how do you learn? You learn by studying from someone who already knows how to do it. And how
Right.
did the person who knows how to do it learn? They learn from someone who already knew how to do it. So
Yep.
it's this wisdom and this information and this knowledge that just keeps getting passed on. And we're vessels. That's all we are, right? So it's easy to look at something like the Drummers Education Connection and see, four experienced guys who are professionals, know what they're doing, and I can never be like that. But we started out this all as beginners, and we learned from our instructors and from each other and from all the resources that are available now. Um, and then we just pass that wisdom along. And I'm sure there's somewhere one of the students we each teach will they themselves might become a drum instructor at some day.
Yes.
I've already
Yes,
had a
that's
couple do
true.
that.
Yeah, I have too. And it's actually pretty rare for a student to go forward and become professional or semi-professional, but I've had a few who have.
Well,
And
yeah, it's not
really
for
rewarding
everyone,
that.
but
No. uh,
but everyone, yeah, everyone starts.
I would even, I've noticed a real pattern lately where students come in and they feel perhaps they're not fulfilled in their life, and then they say, "Man, I missed my calling. I should have been a professional drummer."
Mm.
Um, or I'm getting a lot of younger people now who are like, "I want to be a professional drummer,"
Hmm.
and yeah, good news. It can be done. It is possible, but you really have to really know what you're doing, and you've got to turn over every stone, and it might not be what you expect. And having a good, nice, safe day job can give you a lot of flexibility in your life to play the music that you want. It's not like you've got to be a rock star to make this instrument fulfilling. So I have a lot of people come in and they say, well, is it okay that I don't want to be a rock star? I'm like, of course. The ones who say they want to be a rock star, those are the ones that I worry about,
Yeah,
man.
right.
Because honestly, if you want to ruin your relationship with drums, try to become a professional.
Well,
I know
I
it's
wouldn't
really
say that.
not a statement, but
I wouldn't say that, but I would say that it is fraught, and
yeah,
that it
yeah,
can. If
yeah,
yeah. And you can end up feeling like you're grinding instead of doing the thing that you love that you started with, right?
right,
I
right.
mean, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It can be done. And I'd say the people who are the professionals, that's what they do. It's how they're programmed. It's the only thing they're going to do. And they're that passionate.
Right.
Therefore, they are that passionate and they turn over every stone and do things like, I'm over 50 and I'm going to take a New Orleans drum lesson. I'm already a professional. That's passion. That's what all of us here, that's what you have, Chip, is that passion to move forward. And so,
Well, to me, that just comes back to the idea that the sort of humility, uh, and understand awareness that we're always learning, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't
Mhm.
care who you are, you haven't finished writing the book on whatever's possible out there.
yeah,
Garibaldi still practices out of his own books,
right.
Yeah.
right? Um, and Mike Clark took a lesson with, I forget who it was. I want to say Steve Smith.
Yeah,
And Steve Smith would take lessons with other people, and everyone takes lessons with everyone because, and then there's new guys coming out doing stuff that's like no one's done before,
right,
and playing the drums and pushing it forward. Guys like Ramon Montagnier and Alex Cohen, who are pushing the envelope of what's ever been done on the drums.
right,
And if you want to, if that's something that interests you, you go study with those guys. And guess what? They studied with other guys too,
right.
right?
Yeah,
And so we
yeah,
all end up sort of with our areas of expertise. Um, and like I'm flattered and honored that Chips wants to take a lesson with me on New Orleans second line drumming, and I could turn right back around and say, okay, great, now Chip, just give me a lesson on double bass, and all your blast fills like those. Chip, unbelievable.
yeah.
He can hang on a level with Greg Bissonette.
I got to play next to him. That's for sure. I was
No, you
freaking out. That was pretty cool.
not you, and you held your own, man. You were like, I saw no discernible difference in the quality between the two of you. Like, you guys are
Well,
both,
thanks,
you're
man.
both shredding. Yeah.
That
So
was a heavy moment for me.
you rose and shined in that moment, dude.
Thank you.
Um, yeah. So that's it. Like, we're always learning. There's always more to learn, and that's part of what's so great about. That's another thing that I love about this. It's never ending. The onion is infinite.
Yes. Yep. The deeper you go, the more educated questions you can ask
Right.
about evolving it. And I think we're just talking about the playing part of all of this.
Mm.
The personal growth that you get out of being a musician, the opportunity for you to be the greatest version of yourself is totally there. You have to be tactful. You've got to be resilient. You have to be patient. There's so many incredible characteristics that one has to have honed in on to if you want to be a professional. And even at a club level, this is the opportunity to really interact with people. That's really what it is. Um,
Yeah. Right.
yeah, it's not just the playing.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
There's the communal aspect, right? That it brings people together. I mean, remember that in other cultures aside from ours, like, where drumming where drumming was born in Africa, right? All the drumming is all connected to social experiences and events and dances and rites of passage,
Right.
culturally significant events. It's not just like drumming for drumming's sake.
Drumming cultures around the world, African. Drums are a fundamental part of African culture and used in ceremonies, communications, and daily life. East Asian. Drums are like Chinese gu and Japanese taiko are used as martial arts, festivals, and theater. And in India, the tabla is a key instrument of Hinduism, classical music, and used in religious and secular texts. There's all kinds of, the list goes on and on about drumming culture and how drums fit in culture.
In the United States, drums are used to spill beer on and get out and mate.
Yeah. So it's been going on since the beginning of time, and it will go. I think it's going to go on forever. Hey, how did the universe get started? The Big Bang.
Yeah.
Baby. Big Bang, baby.
The downbeat, the first downbeat.
That is it. That is it.
And we've been grooving ever since.
Yes.
That's what it is. That's why our show here, Drummers Education Connection, we are, what is this, episode 198?
198?
Yeah.
198.
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We are.
It's endless. We never run out of topics to talk about.
Yeah, loving the drums. The other thing I think about when I think about what I love about drumming is emotionally, I can be in a really messed up place. Like I could have like a fight with my girlfriend or whatever. I go play my drums. I go practice my drums. And it resets my perception. It resets my perspective. And it's like nobody understands me like my drums do. They're there for me, emotionally for me. And it's just such a healthy part of my life. And if I got injured, the times hasn't happened often, but when I have been injured in the past before, when I haven't been able to go play my drums, I've been miserable, man. Like Linus without his blanket. It's definitely a big emotional crutch for me as far as emotions in general and how I feel on day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe it. Hey, we'd love to hear from you guys. If those of you who are listening, what do you love most about playing the drums? How has it impacted?
Yeah, James Harrison, Fred, let us know.
Lindsay, Edison.
Yeah.
Anyone out there? We're going to say, Rick?
When I was putting together the How to Build a Drum Groove series, right, where you have a drum beat and then it pairs, I'll have a beat, and I'll make a list of songs that use that drum beat. Mm-hmm. And what I found so often is that artists that or songwriters that had nothing to do with each other so often would use the same drum beat. It was just incredible. I have one beat, and the beat is used in a Tom Petty song, a Sting song, an Usher song, a Red Hot Chili Peppers song.
Yeah.
You would never think they have anything in common. And it kind of tells you man, we're all made of the same stuff.
Yeah.
And that realization when I put the beat together, here's our kick, snare beat, our just basic time. I came up with like 20 or 30 songs that use that beat from artists from different eras too, not just what's current and hot right now.
Yeah. I like the mechanical issues of the beats too, how things like Rick has said before, like drumming music is like the greatest puzzle ever to figure out. How I had a student recently show me a rap song and it had this wicked drum beat with the hi-hats going, and he was just perplexed by it. And I was like, well, let's break it down in different sections. And we broke it down into the first part, the second part, the third part, and the fourth part. And it turns out he already knew it. He just didn't know that he knew it. I think that aspect of drum teaching and learning is fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
Lindsay says, I love the creativity of being able to take a song and try to make the ultimate drum track for it.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I was thinking about doing for Deck Day, which I haven't fully formed. So I'm gonna spring this on you guys right now, right here live in real time.
Let's do it.
Was wouldn't it be a kind of a fun thing to take a song that none of us have ever heard before, that's a drumless track, and give it to each of us at the beginning of Deck Day, and play the song for the people in attendance, and then we each get 10 minutes with headphones while the other guys are doing our clinics, and then at the end we each have to play the song, whatever we would come up with.
Oh, that would be so incredible.
That's a great idea.
Pretty fun, right?
Great idea.
I vote for that one. That's a great idea. Fred Fisher says, I love the feel of the physical feedback from the instrument along with the sonic horsepower of kick, snare, and hat. Sonic horsepower. Fred,
sonic horsepower.
Go for it. I like it. That's my new band name. I'm gonna suggest that to my band. Man, we're trying to figure out band names, man. We're in band name hell. It's horrible. If there's a kind of a cool band name, somebody's already got it.
How about Sonic Horsepower? Just call
Sonic Horsepower. That's what I'm gonna put down. I'm writing that down, Fred.
Man.
And James Harrison said, now that I'm older, I love sitting drum and have something pop out, a lick or fill or groove that came out totally by accident, and realize the creative energy can always come out of you.
Yeah, nice. which is kind of dovetails with what Lindsay said there next. Another great thing about drumming is you get to make your own interpretation. So you guys are both touching on a really, really fundamental piece of the puzzle, which is creativity.
Creativity.
And, of course, the possibilities are endless, and the more stuff you have, the more options you have, the more things occur to you. That's part of why the rudiments are so important. It just gives you a foundation for being able to be creative, right, and having more things you can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we were talking about, 4 different drummers. If you sit down 5 of the best drummers in the world and ask them to play the same song that they'd never heard before, they're all going to play something different.
Yep. You're going to get 5 different sounds.
Right. They're all going to sound good because they're all going to bring similar qualities, and they're all going to be paying attention and respecting the song. But, there's no ever one right way to play. It's one thing if you're trying to emulate a recording and like, I'm trying to play just, the song just like the drummer did, and that's all fine. But,
but there are common threads in great. Sorry.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. But I was just going to say that Duke Ellington famously said, if it sounds good and it feels good, it is good.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a really good thing to come back to.
Yes.
Like, that's all.
Think about the common aspects of those 5 drummers. You got 5 amazing drummers, and you give them a song they've never heard before, and you get 5 different versions of that song as far as the drum parts go. But all those drum parts are going to have common characteristics of greatness. They're going to be in time. They're going to feel good. You know what I mean? There's common threads through what makes it sound good. There's a commonality in that creativity as well.
Absolutely.
I tell you, to me, I like what Lindsay said about creating drum parts too. When you're playing in an original band and coming up with your own drum parts, to me is that's one of the things that resonates the most with me. I just love doing that. And I love helping students when they're playing original songs and try to figure out, express some ideas. And really, we're just all the sum of all the parts that we've taken in. What's going to come out is naturally you. You're going to have a little bit of everything that you studied and heard. The deeper you study, the more it's going to come out in your playing. And I've had people like say, well, they get worried. Well, if I study so much Neil Peart, am I going to sound too much like Rush? And I don't think so. I think you are you, and you're the sum of all the parts. And in that Zepp documentary, John Paul Jones describes Led Zeppelin as, he talked about all 4 band members and how they all had different influences. And he said, I like to think that Led Zeppelin was the air between all of those.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
That really resonated to me as far as drumming, no matter how much you try, I'm not going to sound like you guys, and you're not going to sound like me. And that's what makes it cool. But it's the ultimate way to express yourself. I know when I was younger and I first got started with this, it was really, really great for my self-esteem.
Mm.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, your self-worth gets connected to the playing, and then in a good way, in a positive way. It's like, look at the progress I've made.
Yeah.
Look at what I've done. I talk to my students about that all the time, and I constantly remind them of when they're really struggling on something new that's really fancy and hard to do. I bring them back, and I take their book and I go way back to the beginning and say, play that, and they play the snot out of it. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. It's like, remember how that felt when you started that?
Right.
You
Yeah.
couldn't do that before, and look at where you are now. Don't
Yeah.
forget the progress that you're making.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The horizon will forever be receding.
Yeah, and you're making progress, though. It's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. You got to enjoy the process because that's all we have. Right. There is actually no arrival point.
Yeah,
This much
that's
is
a
true.
beautiful thing about drumming.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, that's it. I want to be a drummer. I'm sold.
I'm told too.
Convince
Sign
me.
me
Where do
up.
I sign up? Yeah, exactly. For,
You know, the
for
other
only
part
4
about,
easy payments of $19.99.
you know, the other really amazing thing about this is drums. I consider it the most customizable of all instruments. Look at all of our kits, just like right now on the screen, and what we have. Each one is different in their own way. How many drums, the sizes of the drums, how many different cymbals,
Yep.
accessories like percussion, crazy stuff like the rototoms up here, uh, all the different sound effects. The gear is just amazing, and then the science of it. I mean, you could dive in really, really deep into this. The characteristics of the woods, what kind of drum heads, what kind of sticks do you have? I mean, you could nerd out on drum gear like crazy.
And I often do.
Yeah, we often do. We do occasionally on this show, and
Well,
uh,
and there's a
yeah.
part of that that's educating your ear too, right? Like I went over the other night to my friend Mark's house for dinner. He's the guy who won the snare drum in our deck day giveaway.
Oh,
And
cool.
he asked me if we were over there for dinner because we're friends with our wives are friends too. Um, and he asked me to come help him tune it. And so went over, tuned the snare. Sounded much better when I was done, before I got there.
Yeah.
And he had a snare weight and a dampening thing, and we were putting it on and taking it off, and we were talking about the qualities of it and the different degrees of dampening. And his wife was curious and was like, oh, let me hear the difference, see if I can hear it. And
Hmm.
I played it. She's like, I don't hear a difference. And then I said, okay, well, listen for how much ringing you're hearing at the end of the sound. And then I put the thing on and off, and she's like, oh, now I hear it. Right. So like, and the deeper we go, the more aware we are of all these very subtle aspects of our cymbal tones and the wash and the decay and the attack and the drum heads and the attack and all this stuff. And that's where we nerd out. But that's, the devil's in the details, right? When you're making music, all that attention that goes into your sound has an impact in terms of what you're contributing, sonically to the mix of the band.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a student that just bought 2 brand new snare drums. One's a piccolo and one's a standard. He had me over there Monday at his house, and he's like, "Can you help me tune these?" And I did my best little quick tuning job, this generic kind of like get it in range and I want to make it playable. I'm not really concerned about recording.
Right.
But so I did my little quick tune thing, and it hit both of them and played both of them. He's like, wow, that sounds amazing. How'd you do that? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just, kind of brought the head up to where I felt like it was even and in tune with itself.
Right.
But he was blown away because he had never gone to that level of being able to mess with the drum and tune it. Even though he was messing with it and tuning it, he wasn't at the level that I'm at because of the years of trying to do that and learning and listening.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
James made a comment earlier I wanted to come back to. He said, I would bet that we've all worked out of David Garibaldi's books, but none of us sound like him. And obviously that's true. But I would go further, like to say that, I can't tell you how many students I've taught where we're working off charts. Like, I remember I run this Bandworks program. It's a school of rock and roll kind of thing. We have like 1,200 students every year. So I work with a lot of the drummers in Bandworks, and they're playing 5 songs in their rock cover bands. And they're trying to learn the parts off the recording. And sometimes we're working with charts. And, they can get the part note for note in time at the right tempo and sound absolutely nothing like the recording.
Yes.
Right. There's so much that goes into how you deliver a drum beat
Yep.
sonically, the
Mm-hmm.
feel of it, the pocket, the dynamic balance of the parts of the kit, how one person moves the hi-hat stick through the air versus another one. The stroke is different, the mechanics of it, and all those things contribute to it ultimately a different sound. And yeah, you're right. None of us are going to sound like Garibaldi, no matter how much we work out of his books. And I would, there's so much more to being a good player. I'm a big believer in that the how of what you play is way more important than the what of what you play.
Mm-hmm.
I know that we all get hyper focused on the drum beat. Let me learn that beat. Let me learn that fill. But boy, like, it ends up what matters for the music is the way the music sounds and feels. Right?
Yeah. Are you selling it? Are you deliberate? Are you executing? And how are you executing? Yeah.
Right. How are you actually? Yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with your statement. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's a part of our drumming that not enough drummers focus on. They're so focused on what, and they're not as much focused on the how.
On the how.
Yeah.
At its core, what we're talking about in playing drums is art, which
Art.
is
Right.
so incredibly subjective. Who's to say what's good? Who's to say what's bad? Right? If people like it, then on some level, then there's an argument then, well, that's good to some degree because this person or that person resonated with it and liked it. And so there you go. Like I was talking about that one beat and all these artists that use that same beat, and the artists are completely different. Well, the drum mixes are completely different. Like you were saying, Jeremy, on paper it's all the same, but the feel is different, the tone is different, the muffling is different, the effects, some are crisp and clear, some are distorted sounding, and that's the beautiful thing. It can be creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the examples I put in my book is about 3 different songs that are all use the identical drum beat, and there's a Michael Jackson song, a James Taylor song, and a Metallica song.
Yeah.
And those are sort of on the 3 far-ranging points of the musical rock spectrum, and same beat, but it sounds completely different.
Right.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that scraping noise. I got painters outside.
That's cool, man. That's cool. I remember on Jeremy's clinic on the last deck day, he had a student come up and a couple students come up and play the same beat, and then try to. Okay, Jeremy would be like, play the hi-hat a little harder and ease off on the snare, or give it some more bass drum, and it totally changes the entire dynamic of the song. Just those tiny little adjustments in what he was suggesting his students do changed the whole audio scope of the whole spectrum of it. It was cool.
Yes.
Chameleons. We got to be chameleons.
Yeah.
The other thing that we could think about with this is that at its core, if you're up on a stage performing music for people, you are an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be very aware of the environment and what kind of entertainer do you want to be. I think of you, Chip. When I watch you, you do these incredible twirls and while you're drumming, and you can juggle while you're drumming. And man, that's it, man. I mean, I think so much that that it's cool in the drum community to say, "Oh, look at that drummer. Look at how relaxed they are." And that's really, really cool for feel and sound and 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 all. And sometimes that can totally work for the band. And if that's the image that you want to portray, that's fine. But there's also, let's dig in, let's give them a show. They paid money to see a show, and you have to be just kind of aware of the venue you're playing, the style you're playing, who you're playing with. You might have a singer. I was listening to the Rich Redmond show, and Ray Luzier was being interviewed by Rich Redmond um, about his days playing with David Lee Roth. And David Lee Roth was like to Ray, "Hey man, they're paying money to see you too, man. You got to give them a show. It's not just about me." David Lee Roth, obviously as the showman, isn't threatened if his drummer showboats a little bit. you know?
Yeah.
So we're like, thank God for that because it forced me to, you know, do the garden weasel or whatever way you want to show it. So I always say to my students, you know, when you're practicing, even on your own, let it loose. You know, that whole thing, dance like no one's watching. So I tell students that, like, let's, you know, feel free to put your heart and soul into it, you know, and don't feel like you have to be subdued, you know. Get into it. If you're into it, there's a good chance that the audience is going to get into it.
Yeah, the more and the better grip you have on the fundamentals, on the mechanics, the better foundation you have as a student, the more free you're going to be able to be communicating, and the more free you're going to be artistic.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. So then it just cuts loose and you naturally can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got to be aware of your gig. Like Jeremy, I've seen you play some incredible gigs, like jazz gigs in San Francisco, where the whole crowd is just like in the zone watching you and like blown away by the groove. And you've created that pocket and you've created that vibe for these people. If you started doing the garden weasel, dude, it would be lame. It would be contrived. It wouldn't be natural.
Well,
Right.
yeah, right. Well, and also wouldn't be me, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I have the utmost respect for watching Chip do what he does. It is super entertaining, super fun to watch. I always have a smile on my face when I'm watching him play, and I can't do that stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to do that stuff. I want Chip to do it. You know what I mean? Like I'm just going to be the version of me the best version of me that I can be.
You know, that's so fun for right now with all the social media. Don't worry about what the other person is doing. Be you and keep growing to develop who you are.
Yeah. Focus on yourself and your own path.
That's beautiful.
Very cool.
That's beautiful. Chip, are you happy about the Super Bowl?
I'm super happy about the Super Bowl, man. I'm super happy about it.
I know notice you're still wearing your Eagles hat.
I'm going to be wearing it for a while. I'm going to get a new one too that says champions on it.
Yeah, there you go.
What do they do with all the shirts? You know, like they have to print all the shirts.
They give it to third world countries.
Yeah.
The ones that say Kansas City won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Right on. Well, this has been a great episode, you guys.
It's been, it's enjoyable to just talk about all these different ways in which we all connect to this art form and what it does for us and all these different levels. So thanks you all for listening and for contributing such great comments today, and for your support. We love you guys, and we wouldn't be here if you weren't here to soak it in and contribute and be a part of it too. So this is another way which we're trying to build community is through the Drummers Education Connection, right? That's what we're here for.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, James. Thank you, Lindsay.
Yep. And Jacob. And remember that Deck Day is on April 26th down at Aquarian Drumheads. And if you guys are even thinking about it, we'd love to have you come and be a part of it. It's a super fun day. It's a great hang. 4 drum clinics, free drum gear, tons of free drum gear giveaways, tour of the Aquarian Drumheads warehouse, discounts on heads, snacks. It's pretty much you can't miss. Yeah.
Yum.
So check it out. Chip put the comment at the very top. And
I put it at the very bottom as well.
And also, last thing, next week, we will be honored to once again have Joe Bergamini, great friend of the show, on deck. And he's going to talk about some of the cool stuff he's got going on. And we're looking forward to speaking with him next week. All right, play us out, Rick.
Play us out, Rick.
I'll give you a little shuffly Tom vibe.